Good morning again. I'm pleased that we can kick off our main stage activities with an opening speaker, Shawn Kanungo. He's been recognized nationally and globally for his work in the innovation space. He worked for 12 years at Deloitte. Shawn's mandate at the firm was to help corporate executives to better understand and plan for the opportunities and threats associated with disruptive innovation. Now, as a general partner of Queen and Rook Capital, he's focused on helping private and public sector organizations adopt new technologies and business models for the digital age. Shawn has been recognized as Avenue Magazine's Top 40 Under 40, and in 2018, he was named one of Inc.'s 100 Most Innovative Leadership Speakers. He's been featured in Forbes, The Globe and Mail, The Guardian, CBC, and CTV. Please join me in welcoming Shawn Kanungo. Have fun.
Thanks so much. Well, thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to be here. And by the way, I understand on Wednesday is Lynn's, she's finishing her term. So I just want to have a round of applause for her and her time here. Amazing. Now, I'm really excited to be talking to you about innovation, but I have to be honest with you, I have to clear the air to start. There's something on my mind. I know Premier Ford is going to be here on this stage a little bit after me, and I want to help him out, and I want to help you out as well. I'm not sure if you saw this, but last week, Elon Musk is suing the Ontario government over the EV rebate program. And on the headline on the Financial Post, it said, Elon Musk versus Doug Ford. And, I was thinking about this a ton, and I said, why is he doing this? Why is Elon Musk doing this? And I don't want to get into the details of it. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But here's what I do know about Elon Musk, is that he's been going through a lot of financial struggle right now. He's actually looking at taking Tesla private. And he actually sent out a tweet last week that said, "I'm considering taking Tesla private at 420, funding secured." And we actually learned later on that the funding wasn't actually secured. And so I think he's just looking for money. And it's crazy because he's been going to the Saudi fund to see if they have money, and this is probably one of the reasons why he's suing, to get money. But I love the vision for Elon Musk. He's looking at implementing electric vehicles, and I think it's a really great vision. But he's actually looking for something that probably everyone is looking for. He is actually looking for dependable and predictable funding. He is looking for dependable and predictable funding. He's kind of like every municipality here. So I have an idea about this that might help him, and it might help the municipalities as well. I heard that there's a $4.9 billion municipality funding gap. And if we give the municipalities the funding for smart infrastructure, that might support a transportation model that supports autonomous, electric, shared, and connected vehicles. And then we would have less infrastructure costs. We had less public service costs. We would have less people on the road, less accidents, less people in hospitals. Everybody would be happy. It would be great. Tesla would be happy, the municipalities would be happy, AMO would be happy. In fact, I could imagine Lynn tweeting this out and saying, $4.9 billion gap eliminating, funding secured. Now, don't take a picture of this. This is how fake news starts. So, just an idea. I'm not a politician, just an idea. But listen, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about innovation. This is what I'm obsessed about. And when I talk to people about explosive innovation, I always tell them this, that the dirty secret to explosive innovation is that nothing is actually truly original. Everything is a remix. Everyone steals copies and combines innovations, and this is where we see the magic happening. As an example of this, and you know this, the internet is a beautiful example of this. You might have a creative or genius idea, And there might be 1,000 people online with the exact same idea as you. It is literally impossible to come up with a truly original idea. Almost impossible. I've had one original idea in my life, and the internet completely ruined its novelty. Let me explain. About 10 years ago, I was proposing to my then girlfriend, Deepa. And you know these proposals, there's a lot of pressure to make these proposals good and fun and unique. And I just imagine her friends getting together and saying, oh my God, Shawn, how did he do it? You know, I just imagine this happening. And so this was my idea. You can let me know if this was a good idea or not. I was going to rent out a movie theater, the Cineplex Odeon, and invite all my friends and her family and my family, and everybody would come to this movie theater, and I would make a movie. And somehow, in the storyline, I would propose to my girlfriend who would be sitting right beside me. So this is exactly what I did. I invited everybody out, and I remade the movie I Am Legend. Do you remember this movie? No, it's okay. It's okay. Nobody watched it. And so I remade this movie. And I'm going to show you the proposal, but I'm not going to show you the entire proposal, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, but this is what happened.
Will you marry me?
Deepa, will you marry me?
Thank you, by the way. Thank you. She did say yes. She did say yes, and we have a daughter, and it worked out very well. And you know what she told me at the time, my girlfriend, she told me this. She said, Shawn, you should take this video and then put it on YouTube and then send it to Ellen DeGeneres because then she'll have us on and then she'll give us a whole bunch of stuff like a honeymoon. And you know what? I was getting really skeptical about this idea because I know that the internet has also created these new behaviors known as trolling or memes or GIFs. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I just imagine somebody taking my face and going like, I love you, I love you, I love you, like making a rap remix of my face, or putting something on my face. You might have seen the hot dog. This is a new behavior that we've created in the internet era around trolling and memes and GIFs. This is also a new form of communication that we've never thought about 10 years ago, that we actually send pictures to one another. It's crazy. In fact, if you actually want a good tip on a really great GIF to use, I really like the Gary Payton GIF. It's really great. It's really universal. If you're surprised about something, it's a really great GIF to use. Just a tip, just look up Gary Payton GIF, you'll find it. It's really great. So this is really a new behavior that we've created. But literally a year later after I proposed to my girlfriend, this happened.
Speaking of creative, I don't know if anybody saw this on YouTube. It's going around like crazy. I think there's 13 million views on YouTube already. He put this whole movie trailer together, got his girlfriend to go to the movies, and he proposed to her at the theater through this entire movie. And coming here and sharing your story with us, a movie phone is going to give you a $100 gift card, so you can go. And then to watch them on, we're going to give you an entertainment center. We'll walk over here to see a Vizio Entertainment Center. You see all that right there that's playing on there? How beautiful and clear the picture is?
Yeah,
that would be nice to be there. So our friends at Hilton Hotels and Resorts are sending you on an all-inclusive honeymoon at Montego Bay, Jamaica.
My wife is still pissed off to this day about this. And by the way, I did a last check on YouTube, and there's about 100 guys that have proposed to their girlfriends in movie theaters. They've taken this completely original idea and made it overdone overnight. And here is the challenge with the internet. It is the largest repository of innovative ideas, yes, but it's also the largest copying machine on the planet. There's still new challenges and new opportunities that we still haven't faced in the internet era. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because I want to show you that when you we have all these converging technologies really coming together. The internet is the combination of computing and networking coming together, converging and creating a disruptive force known as the internet. But in this new era, we still have new challenges as well. You know, data privacy and security. You know, Mark Zuckerberg was testifying in front of Congress a number of months ago about our data privacy and security, and this seems to be the challenge of our time. But, you know, there's new opportunities, of course, as well. We know with the internet that, you know, now it's almost a drag and drop world. You need ideas, you need code, you need designs, you need research from anywhere. It's just a matter of bringing the best things that humans have done and bringing these things together. And so what I want to show you today, and really what's happening, the reason why we're seeing the most chaotic era in commerce, the reason why we are on the brink of a revolution when it comes to government, is that we have never seen so many emerging technologies come up at the speed that it's coming up. And this is what's really impacting these individual technologies that are coming together and they're converging. And this is what's causing all the mess. You know, a number of years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, my team at Deloitte, Bill Eggers, who's the godfather of public sector innovation, and his Deloitte Gov team put together some amazing research called Gov 2020 to figure out what the future of government, municipal government, provincial government, federal government would look like. It was an amazing piece of research. Hundreds of different trends and drivers were identified, interviewed, you know, a ton of people, academia, public sector employees, think tanks, you name it. And you know what's crazy is my job was to roll this out in Canada and in the Middle East, and to help organizations and government organizations really figure out what the future would look like in 2020. And in about 16 months, we are actually at 2020. You might be sitting there because in 2015, you were like, we should have a 2020 strategy. Everybody had a 2020 visioning strategy, and we're almost here. So I just want to review some of the things that we talked about, some of the things that we got wrong, and some of the things that we actually got right. Now, I'm not a futurist. I don't like to call myself a futurist. I'm a practitioner. I'm a tactician. And, you know, I think when we were predicting some of these things 5 years ago, we didn't know if it was going to happen. Some of the things that didn't work well were, one thing that we said was drone police, that there will be unmanned aerial vehicles everywhere helping police officers out. Now, this might be happening in pockets, but it didn't really come to fruition at all. The other thing that we predicted was government as a food truck. Essentially what this means is that we thought a government would go completely 100% mobile, and all the face-to-face contact would be done by a mobile government unit that would go to all the municipalities. Again, happening in pockets, but I actually probably saw more government employees going to food trucks than this actually happening. The other thing was expanding human potential. One of the things that we thought was that with all this neuroscience and technology, that we would become smarter and have a higher IQ and be more fit and have, you know, perfect vision, and we could design the perfect human being, all of us. I don't think this happened either. I am aging terribly, so this didn't happen either. But, you know, there were some things that we did get right, and some things that are really impacting not only governments today, but also the private sector. And I want to go through some of those ideas with you. You know, the first one is really the sharing economy. And you know, when people talk about disruption, they always bring this up. And these are individual technologies like mobile and GPS and marketplaces and payments really coming together, creating this disruptive force known as the sharing economy. And we know that this has created new challenges, yes. But it has really, in my mind, the biggest impact that this has made over the last 5 years as we look at 2020 is this has really changed behaviors. It has changed the behaviors of your citizens, of the residents. Here's some notes from Carol, who describes the behavior change perfectly. She says this. She says, in 1998, don't get into strangers' cars, don't meet people from the internet. 2016, literally summon strangers from the internet to get in their car. Really great way of describing it. You know, it's crazy. You could be sitting in an Uber or driving an Uber, and not realizing how much the world has changed. I'll give you an example of this. A couple months ago, I was in Toronto and taking an Uber, and somebody who was really nice picked me up. Her name was Jacqueline. She had a 4.99 rating, and she was really good, really nice. Her job was a makeup artist. This was her full-time job. And she picked me up, and she was complaining to me. She was saying, I hate the fact that there's all these girls posting their makeup tutorials on YouTube, and they're also doing makeup, freelance makeup, without a cosmetology license. I said, that's crazy. You know what? There's also random people picking up random people from the street without a taxi license. She did not like that at all. She kind of gave me that Gary Payton look that I described to you beforehand. But this is crazy. You know, you could be sitting in an Uber. You could be sitting in an Uber, driving an Uber, and not understanding how much the world has changed. It's crazy. You know, the sharing economy is going to create new opportunities, new challenges. You know, one of them is around retirement and pensions. What happens when many of your residents or citizens are doing multiple jobs? What happens to retirement and pensions then? That's why many governments are talking about this idea of basic universal income. You know, the other thing that the sharing economy is doing is rethinking this entire idea of ownership. Should we be owning assets? So it was really impactful. Now, one of the things that we predicted in Gov 2020 would be the proliferation of the open talent economy or crowdsourcing. And this has fundamentally changed my life. You know, if you want to get work done in your office, you would look around the room and you would say, who is available to do this work and when can I get this work done? Enter in the open talent economy and you could actually get work done anywhere. Talent is ubiquitous. There's sites like Upwork where you can get any freelance person to do design, code, research, anywhere. There are sites like Fiverr, an entire marketplace where people will do things for $5. Entire marketplace. There are sites like 99 Designs where you put up a design project. Hundreds of people actually compete for the work. And you know who gets paid? One person. That's the state of design right now. So talent is really ubiquitous, and this has fundamentally changed my behavior and my teams. You know, this has also created new challenges. Instead of saying, who is available to do this work in my municipality or in my office, now you say, who else is out there to do this work? Do I choose somebody from Bangladesh with a 4-star rating or somebody from Ottawa who has a 3.7 rating and a little bit more context around what I'm doing? It has really created a new challenge. You know, it's created a new behavior as well. It's fundamentally changed my behavior too. Anytime I have a particular task, I say, do I need to do this work? Or can I get somebody else to do this work at a radically cheaper cost? It's also changed the behaviors of my teams. You know, we used to hire really smart and interesting and brilliant people in our office, and then we would get them to do data entry or reporting or something that they didn't want to do. But now we have teams that actually want to work on things where they're actually managing other people around the world. They're managing global talent, and they're curating analysis. They're curating recommendations instead of them doing all that data entry work. You know, it's really changed their behaviors, and it's actually changed their management skills and their leadership skills that they're getting right off the bat because they're already managing people. It has really been unbelievable. And you know, this has created new opportunities as well. You know, in the public sector, if we wanted to grow or reduce costs, we'd either build new programs or hire more people or get more funding. This is what we would do to grow. In the private sector, you would either make more stuff, hire more people, or buy another firm completely. But today, when talent is ubiquitous, you could actually add exponential value to what you are doing simply by leveraging third parties. Now, I want to show you how crazy this can get and where we are in the world today in 2020. You know, back in the day, when we were doing the 2020, the youngest person to ever become a billionaire was Mark Zuckerberg at 23 years old. He was the youngest person to become a billionaire. And in a couple months, there's somebody who will usurp Mark Zuckerberg. And her name is Kylie Jenner, a Kardashian. She has a $900 million company with only 7 people. How is this possible? Well, all the manufacturing is done by a third-party company. The e-commerce is done by a third-party company, Shopify, here in Ottawa. Her PR is done by somebody else. Like, she is basically a marketing company wrapped around really great partnerships. And now she's going to become a billionaire because of that. This is how crazy the world is now, that a Kardashian is going to be the youngest billionaire ever. Wow, it's unbelievable how the world has changed. This is a really great example of why it has. You know, the other thing that we predicted in Gov 2020, and which is really actually coming to fruition, is this whole idea of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, you can't go through a business article or a business magazine or a journal without hearing about artificial intelligence. And I know that there's a lot of hype when it comes to AI machine learning, because I'm from Edmonton, and in Edmonton, we are second best in the world when it comes to AI research. And even the data scientists there will tell you that there's a lot of hype when it comes to this. But let me give you a little bit of context around this. You know, this is my daughter, by the way. You know, growing up, my parents, they actually immigrated to this country, and they risked everything to come here. And naturally, they just wanted to de-risk everything for myself and my brother. And I remember once my parents asked me, Shawn, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I don't know, I want to be a hockey player. And they were like, no, here's the definite list of things that you can do. You could be a doctor, engineer, accountant, a lawyer, or you could marry a doctor. These were the options that you had. If you're East Indian, you sort of get this. These are the options that you had. And you know what they told me? They told me that these jobs are safe. These jobs are safe. And you know what? They had the best of intentions. But today, technology is on an exponential scale. And now you have things like artificial intelligence thinking about will some of these jobs be relevant in the future? And here is my predicament, and maybe you can help me out as well. See, my daughter is almost 2 years old, and I'm trying to figure out what do I tell her to be? Like, do I tell her to be a doctor, engineer, accountant? Really, the world is changing so quickly that I don't know which skills or which careers will be relevant for the future. And so here's my predicament. Here I am walking to organizations, talking about disruption and challenging the status quo and challenging the future. And so then what do I tell my daughter about the future? This is something that I think about all the time. You know, when it comes to some of these jobs, if you want to know if your job is going to be eliminated by artificial intelligence, there's a really great site. It's called willrobotstakeyourjob.com. Really great. And I actually put some of these things into that site just to see how they would do in the world of automation. I've started with physician to see how they would do. And it turned out that 0.42%, and their automation risk said that they were totally safe. Then I put something like engineers to see how they would do. And it said 1.4%. They also said that they are totally safe. Then I put lawyers. We love lawyers, to see how they would do. And it said 3.5%. Also said that they were totally safe. And then I put something random like accounting to see how they would do in the world of automation. And it turned out that they were 94%, and it said that they're completely doomed. Are there any accountants here, by the way? I'm sorry, sir. I just, we could chat later. No, I actually don't think that these jobs, I don't think accounting will be eliminated. I think the job will change because of artificial intelligence, and it will actually remove the things that we don't want to do at work so that we can actually double down on things that actually matter, like our customers and our residents and our citizens. I think it's actually going to be the best thing for accountants and everybody's jobs, because it's going to remove the redundancies. You know, the world of artificial intelligence is moving so quickly that, you know, it's funny because I'm from the generation, if you called my house, my landline phone, I would actually pick it up and I would actually say, hello? Like, we did that back in the day. It was so brave. We did that. And now, Google will actually make the call for you.
So how can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second.
It's crazy. You know, at the AMO conference in 2059, there'll be a Google AI assistant doing the opening keynote, probably. It'll be great. You know what? The whole world of AI, again, is really expanding very quickly. There's a lot of hype around autonomous cars. I know there's a couple sessions around autonomous cars and their implications and their impact. This week, I was in Southampton in Bruce County talking to them. They're on this ambitious 20-year vision, like one of the most beautiful places in Ontario and some of the most beautiful people there as well. And you know, they actually get a ton of tourists. And I was looking at some of the engagement surveys from the residents there, and they were saying, some of them were saying, there are too many tourists. There are too many people coming into our county and messing up our way of life. And it's crazy because what I was telling them was that you actually might get more tourists in the age of autonomous cars. Because now the car will be the destination itself. Now that you can get work done in the car, you can get gaming and entertainment and meditation done in the car, that will actually get more people in the car so that they can go to Bruce County. If you're in Toronto and say, hey, listen, I want to go and enjoy some sunshine and some beaches, I'm just going to jump in my car, do a whole bunch of stuff, work out and do all this great stuff, and then, by the way, I'm going to show up at a beach. And so not only will autonomous cars get more people into cars, but you know, more people will be willing to carpool. More people will be willing to live outside of the city because now they can actually get work done in their car on the way to work. So we haven't even thought about the new industries that will be created around this. We haven't thought about all the implications around this. This will be truly disruptive, and it's all facilitated by artificial intelligence. Now, like I said again, going back to the hype around AI, I don't think that jobs will be eliminated. I think what we need to do is separate this idea of tasks and jobs. Like if your job is to enter something into an Excel document, then yes, your job is going to be eliminated. But most jobs actually have more complexity. It requires improvisation, intuition, empathy, communication, and teamwork. And so I think artificial intelligence will help us do more of that. And I can't wait. You know, one of the things that I learned about Gov 2020 and going through that entire process is that, you know, we predicted all these things. We came up with hundreds of drivers and trends. But there's some things that we didn't even pick up yet that will be super disruptive. And the most disruptive technology that we did not mention at all in Gov 2020 was voice. Now, every technology that has ever been created is usually created or adopted by geeks, nerds, guys in their basement who haven't gotten laid yet. But God bless them, because of them, we were able to create the computer and the internet and blockchain and all these beautiful things. The difference between voice and every technology before it is the people that are actually adopting it. I'll give you an example of this. You know, my daughter, she's almost 2 years old. She's got 50 words in her vocabulary. 2 of them are Google and Alexa. It's crazy because she knows that those things get stuff done for us. On the flip side, my mother, who's 70 years old, she missed the internet revolution. She missed the mobile revolution. She's an immigrant. She's not that good with technology. She uses Alexa 100 times a day. And so now you have 2 people on either spectrum that have missed every technological revolution, and they're chatting with each other through a voice device. My daughter will say, Alexa, call grandma, and they're immediately on a call together. It is insane. And so going back to my daughter and the interface that she knows that that thing turns on the TV, it turns on the lights, it gets us the weather, it tells us about our traffic. But in the future, it's going to tell us our financial data, our health data, and getting government services done. It really will. And to give you some context around this, this is a flyer from 1991 from Radio Shack. And there's all these things that they wanted to sell. An all-weather stereo, an AM/FM clock, a cell phone, in-ear stereo phone, a calculator. This was in 1991. If you wanted to buy all these things, it would have cost $3,052.82. And it was on sale. And now you can get all these things in your pocket, right? So now this is the new flyer. And now you have things like the weather and maps and news and your health data all on your phone. Well, now you can get all this stuff through voice, which is 10 times faster than typing or doing anything else. And so you might be able to ambiently walk in your house without a phone and be able to ask for something right there and then. I don't think this is going to replace phones, but it's going to be a beautiful addition. And Amazon is actually predicting that voice will be the next big disruptor. I believe that the next billion-dollar industries, the next billion-dollar companies will be built on top of voice. And the reason why I know voice is going to be a big thing is because a lot of people think it's creepy. You know, every revolution before it, the internet, people said, well, we're not going to put our credit card online. And then everybody did. When mobile came out and you had things like stories and people are now sharing their lives, people said, I'm not going to do that. And now everybody did. And a lot of people are like, I don't want this in my house. I don't want it hearing me, which is, it's not listening to you when you're not waking it up. Everybody will. Everybody will have this in their house. And it's crazy because I want to spend the next decade of my life in this space, so I've created a company around Voice for Business, where we help organizations do this. I held a hackathon 2 days ago on Saturday. I brought a whole bunch of creatives and designers and a whole bunch of people together to hack on what the future of voice would look like. And the students that won the hackathon actually created an app on top of voice called My City, where you could converse with your city to get what you need faster. And if you're interested in this, let me know, and maybe these guys will create $1 billion business out of this. So maybe you know about all the trends. Maybe you've heard about Gov 2020. Maybe you've been to our website. But in my opinion, the people that are getting disrupted by innovation, it's not that they don't understand that the world is changing and there's new technologies coming out. I think that the number one thing, the reason why people fail to adopt new innovative technologies is because of this thing I call nostalgia. We get really paralyzed around what's happening today or what was happening in the past and around our business processes. And I'll give you an example of this, and I just want to poll the room. How many people in this room are from Edmonton, or like born from Edmonton, raised in Edmonton? One person? Okay, very high, you're very proud. So this conversation is just for you, and for everybody else, you don't have to listen to this. You know, in Edmonton, we are the most nostalgic people on the planet. We won the Stanley Cup 27 years ago, and if you come to Edmonton, we still talk about Gretzky and Messier and Curry and Lowe and all the people that were really successful in the Gretzky era. And this is why we haven't won a cup in 27 years. I'll tell you why. Because we put all the people that were really successful in the Gretzky era into leadership positions in the Oilers organization, hoping and praying that we could rekindle the Gretzky magic. That's what we did, and that's why we haven't won a cup in 27 years. And we have Connor McDavid, and we still talk about Gretzky. It's crazy. But I want to translate this into business. Why do we think that the people that were really successful in the industrial era will be equally successful in the digital era? I'm not saying that they can't be, but what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is today we are actually playing in the digital era. So if you are a leader, In the digital era, you should have a passion and understanding and awareness of how to play in this arena. You know, some of the best organizations in the world, they never got nostalgic about the business that they were in. My favorite story is the CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings. The toughest decision that he ever had to make as the CEO of Netflix is when he had to kick out the DVD team from the main management meeting at Netflix because they weren't open to the new technologies that were coming out. They weren't open to streaming. And by the way, the DVD team was responsible for all the revenue and all the profit at the organization, and he literally had to kick them out of the meeting. That takes a lot of courage to do. And so now they're spending $6 billion on content. They're no longer a streaming company. They're a content player. And they never got nostalgic about the business that they were in. And so the whole point is that if you are not nostalgic, you could actually evolve. And I think this is really important to think about. And if we think about the next 10 years or the next 20 years, it's really thinking about how are our municipalities going to do things differently amongst all these disruptive technologies that are really coming up. Things like blockchain and artificial intelligence and machine learning and voice. How are we going to do things differently in a world of disruption? This is what organizations should be thinking about. This is really important to me. And the reason why it's really important to think about this is because of this. The most established organizations are the most vulnerable and unprepared for disruption. Let me repeat. The most established organizations are the most vulnerable to disruption. And the reason is, and by the way, the most established organizations actually hire the best people. They have people in their offices that are thinking about the future. They want to work there. They're the most established organizations. And they come to events and conferences and hear about all the trends. But the reason why the most established organizations are the most vulnerable to disruption is because they get really romantic about their business processes and their structure and what's really working today. And when the environment changes around them, it becomes very difficult to pivot and move and change. And so my experience has been working with big corporate organizations, and to move them has been very difficult. I would argue that within municipalities, because you've been running like well-oiled machines for a very long time, it's also difficult to move and pivot. And so this is the challenge in front of us. And so how do you do this? Like, how do you deal with disruption? Even though you have some smart, intelligent leaders in your office, how do you do this? In my opinion, the best way to go about this is through experimentation. It's starting with small problems and small teams and small sprints and seeing how we can move the needle. To me, this is the only way to deal with disruption. And you've seen it in the private sector, and now you're seeing it definitely in the public sector. You know, Jeff Bezos says, if you double the number of experiments that you do, you double your inventiveness. And at Amazon, they have teams that are literally dedicated to experimentation. I want to ask you a question. If I gave you $1,000 in 2010, which company would you invest in? Just yell out any company. Do you say weed? Oh, Tweed. Same thing. Somebody was like, woo! Wait, October 17th, sir, please. Anything else? Google, Amazon, Apple, became the first $1 trillion company, Netflix. You know what I would invest in? Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza. On $1,000, you would have made $21,000. Domino's has not innovated their product. It's pizza. I get it. It's cheese, pepperoni, dough. I make it at home. It's very good. Where they have innovated is through their customer experience. They get their pizza to their customers faster than anybody else. You can literally tweet them with a pepperoni emoji, and they'll figure out how to get a pizza to you. They're experimenting with drones and chatbots and all these ways of getting a pizza to you. They have 800 people in their head office. 400 of them are dedicated to big data, software, AI, and experimentation. They no longer look at themselves as a pizza company, but they actually look at themselves as a technology company. And the reason why I bring this up is because many organizations, public sector organizations, long-standing private sector organizations, established traditional industries, they'll tell me, Shawn, we can experiment. We're not a tech company. Well, you could be a pizza company and experiment. And so this is why I really love bringing this example. Now, I started my career in media, and there's another a company that I really love when it comes to experimentation. My mother, she used to watch these old, terrible cooking shows, and she doesn't watch it anymore. She actually watches this now, and they get 500 million views a month on Facebook, and it's completely just overtaken your Facebook. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's called Tasty. It comes up on your Facebook feed. It is the #1 video publisher in the world in less than 20 months. It came out basically 2-3 years ago, and it is the #1 video publisher in the world. And how have they been able to do this? They've been able to do this through experimentation. Essentially what happened when Facebook came out with their autoplay feature, they discovered that 40 seconds was the magical engagement number. So they literally created a team known as FB40 to figure out how they could scale their video experiments. And they created this juggernaut known as Tasty. Now, a lot of people say, well, we can't experiment in government because our citizens won't allow us to do that. One of the projects that I was really proud of was with the Ministry of Labor, Employment Standards and Occupational Health and Safety. We were figuring out what are some different ways that we can actually engage with citizens. So we did this whole, we did all these focus groups and interviews, and we collected all this data on our citizens. And the innovative part about this is what we did was we developed a strategy where they could actually experiment with small engagement tactics to see if that actually would move the needle. So experimenting with Facebook ads to do polling or surveys, and simply spending a little bit of money to do that with your target audience, saying, I just want to focus on construction workers in Calgary to get this message around safety. And so to me, the work that we were doing was really important because it showed me that government was actually willing and open to fail quickly and to experiment. And I'm really proud of the work that we did. And I've seen that it's possible. It is possible. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do you find experiments? To me, the best way of finding experiments is literally following people around. Just following them around. You know, on our innovation projects and the company that we have right now, we would literally just follow people around, not only at work, but at their house and on the way to work. I call it ethnographic research. You might call it creeping, whatever you want to call it. But the reason why we follow people around is we want to know why people do what they do, not just what they do at work. It's really important around finding innovation insights and experiments. And the reason why I have Andre Agassi up here is that, and because I don't want to bring another tech example or a business example, but I want to show you how Andre Agassi was able to beat Boris Becker at tennis. Not by practicing more, not by getting a better racket, not by getting a better coach, but simply by watching Boris Becker's tongue. See, Agassi lost his first 3 matches against Boris Becker, and he was trying to figure out how to beat him. And he noticed that when Becker would serve, he would stick out his tongue, and that would indicate where he would serve the ball. And so Agassi was able to figure this out, and was able to beat Becker 9 out of the next 11 matches. He actually told Becker about this many, many, many years later, and this is what he said.
So I told Boris about this after he was retired, because I just showed really good judgment for my own self-preservation and didn't share this with him before. I told him at Oktoberfest, we went out in Oktoberfest in Germany and had a pint of beer together, and I couldn't help but say, by the way, did you know you used to do this and give away your serve? He about fell off the chair, and he says, I used to go home all the time and just tell my wife, it's like he reads my mind. And he said to me, little did I know you were just reading my tongue.
I love that example around how to find innovation insights. So maybe the one idea that you want to take away from this is Start following your citizens around, your residents around, and just tell them the context. If they think it's creepy, just tell them to talk to me. I'll figure it out. I really love this. You know, I didn't bring my business cards, but you can add me on LinkedIn, and you know, I'm posting a ton of videos there. And here's the last couple things that I want to say, is that, you know, organizations, municipalities, they're designed to operate well. That's why we have really great processes and governance and structure and 30-minute meetings and cubicles. Like, we are running our organizations like a well-oiled machine. But the challenge is that we haven't really designed our organizations to experiment, to create new services and products quickly and experiment quickly. This is the challenge in the digital age. And to me, this is the best way to fight disruption, is to create a culture of experimentation. And it's crazy because I showed you that we did all this work around Gov 2020 and thinking about the future in the next 10, 20 years. But to me, after going through all that work and helping organizations on the Gov 2020 path, to me, I believe in this more than anything else. Because yes, we can think about what's happening in the next 20 years, which is important, and you should do it. But it's really around how are we going to move the needle in the next 6 months? How are we going to experiment on things and really do that? And to me, this is what I'm really passionate about. And I'm passionate about it not because I'm helping organizations with it, but also for my daughter as well. You know, I'll go back to what I said previously, which is I'm not really sure what job I would tell my daughter to get. I actually might give her the same advice that my parents gave me, which is get a really safe job. And to me, the safest job in the world today, the safest job is actually instilling this ability to be hungry, to learn, and to experiment. And if I can instill that with her, I'm hoping that she'll be successful. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you very much, Shawn. Thank you for your insights. We all appreciate what you've had to speak to us about today and your thoughts. I want to thank now also the sponsors of the main stage this morning, CIBC, for sponsoring us this morning. Thank you very much. Good morning again. Now I'd like to give you my report as Secretary-Treasurer. I'm going to update you on the Association's financial position, the table, the board nominations report, and fill you in on this year's fundraising activities. First, I want to acknowledge the dedication of the AMO staff and their team, not just in organizing this massive conference, but it's thousands of moving pieces. But they work at this every day. AMO staff is so dedicated to serving its members. It is quite something to be part of this team. Hear, hear. I urge each delegate to spend time at the AMO, LAS, and MEPCO booth and its Learning Lounge. You need to find out how LAS can help you stretch your revenue and save your municipality money. LAS offers lots of advantages to your communities. MEPCO represents the municipal employer interests in OMER's pension. Labor costs, including benefits, is a big part of municipal expenses. Find out how MEPCO is working to represent you. I also want to thank Lynn Dolan for her effective leadership. Being president of AMO is not just a meeting here and a meeting there. It is much more constant. And beyond normal business hours, she has served us well. Finally, I want to acknowledge the support of my own council, the Simcoe County Council, and my staff as I took on this role. Thank you for letting me have this amazing experience. Thank you. Now on to the AGM for a moment. I'll be quick, as I'm sure you want to get through this, but I know you're waiting in anticipation for this section. I'm pleased to report that the AMO is in solid financial position again. The 2017 annual report sent to you in June contains both the financial statements and the board's strategic objectives and outcomes. Go either to the conference mobile app on mobile or our website at amo.ondo.ca and read it there. The 2017 audited financial statements reflect a $643,000 unrestricted reserve surplus. It helps fund special projects, returning value to membership. For example, in 2016, we did a deep dive into the fiscal health of municipal governments. In 2017, the reserve helped finance the local share activity, identifying revenue tools that could help the sector. It helped us undertake a province-wide consultation. This reserve fund also helped fund our local share and local say work, raising awareness about municipal priorities throughout the provincial campaign. As well, with help from Roma, it helped expand the awareness of the unnecessary challenges that double-hatter firefighters are facing from their union. Having a healthy, unrestricted reserve fund means that we do not need an extra levy to do special work. Frankly, it means your board can be nimble. You will note that the financial statements show a restricted surplus of about $10.5 million. This relates to the permanent federal gas tax program funds that are administered by AMO. The federal funds are transferred annually to your municipality using a formula-based allocation, letting you plan better for capital projects. This model is how we delivered the $26 million OMA FRA Main Street funding program that started this year. Simple, straightforward, allocation-based. To conclude, AMO completed the year with $2.8 million in unrestricted net assets. That is my financial report. I ask for a mover and seconder to receive the report. Moved by Sandy McDonald and seconded by Mike Burkett. Thank you very much. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I would like to table the 2018 and 2020 board nomination report. The nominations report was sent to members on June 27th. I want to thank Peter Fay, Clerk of Brampton, who again is our returning officer. We appreciate his work and that of his team. First, I would like us to acknowledge the current board members who, after years of service, have decided not to re-up for the board. Please, all of you, please stand and be acknowledged. Thank you very much for helping build strong AMO policy positions. Our new president will be Jamie McGarvey, Mayor of Parry Sound. Congratulations on your acclamation and taking on the presidential role. Jamie has been on the AMO board since 2011. Jamie will take on his role on Wednesday. So, Jamie, you have 2 days left to rest up. I also want to congratulate Michelle Smybert, Chief Administrative Officer of Middlesex Center, who will be your new Secretary-Treasurer. As a previous AMCTO president, she understands the commitment to association work. I know she is eager to join the board. Congratulations to both of you. On Wednesday after the conference, we have an incoming board meeting. Candidates for the large urban, rural, small urban, and regional single-tier caucuses have been acclaimed. I would ask them to stand. We welcome them to the board. If you're here, yeah. A full list of your new board will be available on the website on Wednesday. There are elections in the Northern Caucus and the County Caucus. The candidates are listed on the slide. They will have candidate ribbons on their badges, recognizable for sure. Please note, municipal elected officials registered in these caucuses are eligible to vote. Your badge indicates the caucus you signed up for, or your staff did this for you. Please note that the election rules do not allow switching of caucuses for voting purposes. Check the program for voting times, location, and results. Now I need a mover and a seconder to receive my nominations report. We have Lou Turcotte and Liz Huff. Thank you very much. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. The AMO board reviewed and approved a proposal to transform AMO's annual fundraising initiative. The result is a shift to focus to youth engagement rather than municipal disaster relief. There are a number of reasons why the disaster relief cause no longer makes the most sense. I'm sure you are aware of the change in the provincial program. Certainly, people have given generously in past conferences. Moving forward, AMO fundraising will focus on a new youth engagement initiative designed to increase the involvement of young people in municipal governance. Just one way to support municipal leaders of the future. The new initiative will roll out in 2019 and will reflect Ontario's regional, social, and gender diversity. We want to involve all parts of the province. Starting at this year's conference, fundraising activities will be in support of AMO's Youth Engagement Initiative. With your purchase of a raffle ticket, you will receive a reusable straw kit supplied with thanks by Red Brick Communications. The ticket makes you eligible for one of our incredible donated prizes. By participating, you can invest in the future in two ways, in youth and the environment. Go to the fundraising station in the registration area to purchase your raffle ticket. Do not be left out. Please help us with this initiative and maybe see me on top of a truck again tonight. Check out when the draws will be held, listed on the program at a glance or the app. It is now my honor to bring back your president, Lynn Dolan, Deputy Mayor, Town of Innisfil. Lynn will offer her last report out as president, but this is not her last time on the stage. She has 2 more days of work. She has served us well at Queen's Park. Fast friends, even with security. She kept you informed, all by herself. Please let us give Lynn Dolan, your president, a truly warm and loud acknowledgement for her 2 years of dedication to you, the AMO members.